Super.
BS.
What's up, my doodlies? We're back from the dead and ready to break some bread. It's your lovable baby boy, Brank here, and I'm joined by...
Just Josh.
The
one and
Everybody
only.
knows him as JJ. Just Josh.
JJ Josh.
JJ Joshington, the third.
Joshington.
So, Joshington, what have you been playing?
CrossCode. I about 4 hours in that game and decided that I don't want to it anymore.
Really? Where are you at that
Yeah.
you stopped playing? Because I just started it yesterday, and I really dug the first... I think I'm 2 hours in. First 2 hours I played.
Okay, I'm in the second dungeon. So like you did all the tutorial stuff. You're off the boat.
Yeah.
I went to the first dungeon, like the intro one. Then I got into the second one. I like it, and I will finish it at some point, but it's just not something I want to play all in one sitting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have some issues with it as well. I think just the way it is being an MMO that's actually a single-player RPG, like, I don't love that. Like, a lot of the quests feel meaningless, like an MMO quest would be. A lot of the armor feels meaningless. Like, a lot of it is bad, but I think the combat and the gameplay is really good. So I kind of dig it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so don't get me wrong. I don't dislike the game. It's too much time for what it is to me. So it's something I will probably go back to, at a later time. But for me, the combat, I do like the combat. I love being able to like jump over boxes and to figure out the puzzles, how to hit that switch and do that.
Those are fun.
Outside of that, though, I don't really use the bulk very much. I like to use the sword and dodge a little more. Which one do you prefer?
So, yeah, when I'm fighting, I am normally using the sword. I do think, the balls are a lot of fun for the puzzles. And I think, like you said, the jumping, all that stuff feels great. I just find myself not caring at all when it comes to the story because it is an MMO-based thing. I've always disliked that conceit, like whether it's the movie Gamer or anything that's like this, like, oh, you're a person playing a person in a thing where there's another person.
It's Inception.
Yeah, and I like the movie Inception quite a bit, but just this idea of this many layers, I don't know. A lot of it feels to me a little bit pretentious, like they're trying to tell this cooler thing. And I'm not saying this game feels that way, but that idea always where it's like telling the thing inside the thing about the thing. Honestly, I felt like graphically and gameplay-wise, it could be like an amazing Super Nintendo-style RPG, but because it's trying to emulate an MMO and there's all these people who are talking about their classes to you and all that other stuff, I do find myself just being like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't really care about any of that stuff, so I'm just kind of enjoying what I play, but I definitely don't think I'll beat it ever. I've heard it's a very long game, but I dig it. I'll buy it on Switch again when it's cheap because I'm playing on Games Pass for free right now.
Yeah, so if I had it on Switch, I would probably be more into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as Xbox goes, like there are other things that I would like to play.
Yeah, I find it weird because like Switch, you could watch like a TV or movie or something else, and then you could play it, and it seems like that's the perfect setting for it, a game where you're kind of doing other stuff and you're just playing it on the side. Whereas Xbox is like, oh, okay, this is cool, and I'm actually having a blast playing it, but it's like I could also finally finish Gears 5 or play a match of Apex or do one of the other things. It's a weird conundrum, you know what I mean, where it's like,
yeah,
it doesn't really need to be an issue at all, but at the same point, it's like, I'm digging it. I'm glad it's part of Games Pass. I'm glad I got the opportunity to play it because it is really, really neat, and I do plan on playing more of it. But yeah, it's strange. I totally agree with you in terms of that, like, I don't know if I'll beat it style thing, but I'll probably put in some more time. I haven't finished the first zone yet though, or anything, so I'm still in the leaf zone or whatever it's called. Like, there's like 4 elements. Yeah, I do like the trees though, and all the stuff. The leveling up trees seem neat. It's a lot. It is a lot though. I don't know if you felt that way, but when they kept showing stuff, it's very cool, but it's also a ton to take in, and It's pretty hard when there's no map showing you where like the NPCs are that give you quests. You're just kind of running around trying to find those people. Have you been playing any other games recently?
So hold on one second.
Well, while I'm holding on, I'll tell you about Ni no Kuni, which I got on Switch several months ago when it was on sale, I think for like $20. But I finally have been playing that on the side too. And boy, I forgot just how great that game is. I don't know if you ever played it on PS3.
No, I remember.
It's only on,
I remember you talking about it.
That's Ni no Kuni 2. That's on PS4. One of the best games of PS4.
Okay.
Anyways, Ni no Kuni, the original, which is also really, really amazing. And it's the art direction and stuff is done by, I think, one of the art directors from Studio Ghibli, as well as the music's done by Joe Hisaishi, the guy who does most of the Studio Ghibli soundtracks. It's a really fun game. It is a Pokemon-like, and it's a little bit slower than an action RPG, but it's faster than a Pokemon game in some ways. The combat system's a little bit strange. After playing 2, I think I actually enjoy the combat system of 2 a lot more. But boy, it's just a really fun, sweet story. And if anybody hasn't checked it out for like the $20, $25 price point, Ni no Kuni is incredible. If you got a Switch or a PS4 or a PC, you should play it. So what other games have you been playing, my doodly?
So I have played Halo 2 Remastered. So I finished Combat Evolved, went back. I know,
Nice.
dude, I'm just on the train right now, you know?
On that train, can't
On
get
that
off
train,
it.
Can't get off, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, Halo 2, the remaster is actually a very beautiful game. Yeah, the
cutscenes were done by Blur.
Yeah, they did such a great job with those cinematics, and like even the upgraded gameplay looks good. You know, it's I have a hard time not pressing like select and going back to the older graphics just to see the comparisons. They look really good. They even redid the audio in that game, which was impressive.
Yeah, I enjoyed like the 2 or 3 missions I played. Like I want to say I played till you're in the city, which is the destroyed. I think it's like the second level. You know, you're in the destroyed city part.
You have to go, take down the Scarab.
Yeah, I played through that, and then I just never went back, which is a bummer because it's a great game. But I should get back to that at some point. So are you gonna try to go through all the Halos?
That's my plan. That is my
even
plan.
5? Did you finish Halo 5?
I did a long time ago, so I got to go back and see if my thoughts on it have changed. But yeah, so I still have ODST is next, and then Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo 5.
ODST is a prequel to Halo 3? It came out after, so...
Yeah, ODST takes place before 3. ODST takes place right after they do... So in the second game, there's a part where they do a slip space rupture in the middle of the city, and that's what destroys everything.
Okay.
And so those ODST troops go in almost right after that happens, and they walk around trying to find Covenant intelligence. That's where Buck, the Spartan from Halo 5, comes in.
Okay, and is that rupture? Is that mission in Halo 3 where there's like the flood on the house? Is that part? Because that's the only city mission I remember in Halo 3.
So after you take down the Scarab, you get picked up by Miranda Keyes and her ship. I forget what the ship is called, but then the Covenant...
Truth and Reconciliation.
Yeah, something like that. And they're like chasing this Covenant ship to Delta Halo, and they open up a slip space rupture right in the middle of the city, and the ship goes in, and the Miranda Keyes goes in right after it, and that slip space rupture causes an explosion that destroys the entire city.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't remember any of this, but that's pretty good. Yeah. So, how long do you think it's going to take you to beat 2, though?
I don't know. I'm about halfway through it. I'll probably have it done by next week.
Really? Okay. That's a long one. I remember 2 being really long.
Yeah, it's not as long as Halo 3 or Halo 4, but I mean, like,
is Halo 4 long?
Halo 4 is pretty long. There are some missions on Halo 2 though where it really does slow down. It's not like fun action. It's just they're throwing the Flood at you over and over again. And the Flood, even to this day, is one of the hardest enemy types I've ever come across in a video game, because there's no rhyme or reason to them. Yeah,
and there's just a lot of them. So constantly getting beaten up. Anything else fun? Or are we just a Halo CrossCode machine this week?
Just Halo and CrossCode, man. I'm wanting to go back and jump on Ghost of Tsushima. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Well, that's okay, because I'll talk to you about that. But before I talk to you about that, I'm going to talk to you about the other thing you should have played with me, Grounded. I ended up playing like about an hour and a half yesterday. It's a lot of fun. I don't have a working microphone for my headset right now, so I played with a friend, and it was not as much fun as it could have been.
Yeah.
But I do see a lot of the fundamentals like being really, really. It's a survival game, but they have a really fun looking tech tree where you just kind of upgrade stuff. So from the little I played, I'm actually pretty excited to get back to it. I'm just waiting until I get a new headset and then try to get a group together and get in on that.
Yeah, I just installed it yesterday, so I've got it now. But do you craft weapons? Do you craft shelter?
You craft everything.
Okay.
So you just really start with stuff, and then you can take stuff to analyzers, and that will you'll find more research items and base items and all the building items from that, and then you build those. I'm curious what the game's going to be like when it comes out of early access, because it's still in like game preview form right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long that's going to be. I mean, if you told me this was the full game, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. I don't really know what their plans are. It is very much Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like you're looking at like laser looking things, which are like magnifying glasses, and you got to go fix them. And one of them has grass, a blade of grass is in the way. So you got to chop that down. So you got to build a thing to chop. I had a blast. I don't play a lot of those crafting games, and a lot of them are so open-ended, I don't find any joy in them. Say the last time I played one was Minecraft, which I liked quite a bit, but there's no end, beginning, middle, story, anything to those games. So it's really hard for me to just sit there and be like, oh, I'll build this house. Okay, I built it. Now what? You know what I mean? So, but I dig it, and I can't wait for us to play. I finished Ghost of Tsushima, though. And by finished, I mean,
look out.
I beat the story. I did every tale. I got a platinum trophy. I 100%ed that game. I think it is just such a fun game. Like, it is what I wanted Red Dead Redemption 2 to be. I know I brought that up last week too, but it's so similar. It's slightly, it's more arcadey, which is what I was hoping Red Dead was going to be, but that kind of like feel like, oh, I'm a samurai. Like I wanted Red Dead to be. I wanted to be a cowboy, like I'm like going in here doing this stuff. But Red Dead, like a lot of Rockstar stuff is kind of up its own butt, where it's like, oh, but we gotta be, exactly like this. And if you skinned an animal, it would take some time. So yeah, sure, they're not gonna make you sit there for 30 minutes while you skin an animal, but the animation's gonna be like 20 seconds, where it's like, no, I just let me do the thing,
Yeah.
Do the one animation at the beginning, and then let me have fun. Let me save anywhere, which you can do in Ghost. Do you think
there's going to be any room for a DLC or any kind of add-on?
DLC, I think, would be tricky. They may have figured out a way to make it make sense, unless it's just a totally weird side plot style thing. But a sequel, for sure. Yeah, they definitely add parts that you're like, oh, it's probably going to be a sequel. Unless what I think is going to be a sequel is going to be DLC stuff. But it does sound like you're either going to go to Mongolia or the mainland of Japan in potentially a sequel. I don't want to say anything else besides that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like...
It seems like a sequel to that would be, I mean, I'd be down to see it, but it just seems like it'd be tough staying in a historical context like they're trying to do with that game.
I guess, I don't know if, I didn't do the research, but I'm not sure Khotan Khan is a real dude. Kublai Khan obviously is, but I'm not sure this cousin dude is real. He might have been. But yeah, so if they're worried about staying historical, that's going to be tricky. I never really thought that was the coolest thing. I think if they want to stay historical, they should kind of take the Assassin's Creed approach, which is like, hey, we're going to bring these historical figures out and do whatever the hell we want with them because this
Michelangelo
is this thing.
action.
Yeah, like that. That's what they could do with this, and I think it would be totally fine. Oh, here's this guy. This is the shogun, or this is the guy who's ruling Mongolia at the time, and this is what we're going to do. But yeah, to be honest, the main story beats to me were never so interesting that I was like, man, I got to see if Khotan Khan really did that. It's like, oh, okay, guy takes over place. You fight him back, the invaders, But yeah, man, I loved it. I think you should play it. It's the first platinum trophy I've ever got. I almost got one for Final Fantasy 15 back in the day, but some weird syncing issue happened. So even though I finished that crazy turtle that you had to do to get the final achievement, and in the end it didn't matter because they added DLC to it. So I don't know how Sony does stuff, but at least on Xbox you don't get 100% when they add achievements or add a DLC, because I had the 100% for Skyrim, and I lost that when they add all the DLC for it.
Oh, that's lame. It should stay. It should stay in your thing.
Yeah, I think so too. But the way Xbox does is 100% thing. I don't know if Sony does. Like, I have never looked if like, oh, you get the platinum in Spider-Man, and then you do the Spider-Man DLC. Does it have its own platinum? You know what I mean, or how that works? Normally I don't even care about the platinum trophy, but I heard it was doable. And honestly, like most of the stuff I wanted to do, there was only 2 things where it was like, oh, I looked up a guide how to do them. They weren't that great, but they took 20 minutes. So it wasn't like a crazy time investment. It's like, oh, it's 20 minutes, and they weren't like bad. They just weren't like, whoa, this is so cool. The rest of it's like, oh, do everything on the map, you know, and like most of the stuff's pretty quick. So yeah, man, I loved it. Before we leave games and potentially head into the news, is there anything else that you've been wanting to talk about, or are we just kind of like, we're waiting for next week, seeing what's going to happen?
Hey, just waiting for next week, man. It's not really, I've been following the news. You know, we got that new Cyberpunk info today. Didn't really see anything that was that exciting to me. You know, we got the PlayStation State of Play I know we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really seen anything exciting going on.
Well, yeah, man, it's all about the news.
Super PS.
Yeah, and so about the news, Call of Duty has just revealed that they're having a tease for potentially a teaser. So August 14th, they're going to probably reveal either a teaser or hopefully a trailer, because it's so late. We normally know about the new Call of Duty by now. Everybody assumes it's Call of Duty Black Ops, and most likely the colon is Cold War. Have you been seeing how they've been teasing this or no?
I have not. I have not followed anything Call of Duty in a long time. So it's Black Ops, but it's Cold War. Is that like a modern Cold War, like how everyone?
No, it's going to be a reboot. So the original Black Ops was Cold War. This is going to be that again. A lot of people think, kind of like Modern Warfare, the game that came out last year, was a reboot for the Modern Warfare series. A lot of people are assuming this is going to be a reboot for the Black Ops series.
Okay.
Which honestly would be great, because I loved what they did with Modern Warfare. I actually played that single player, and that almost made my top 5 games of last year. That game was so good, like the single player was. Like, I dug it. Not a ton about that, but I just thought that was interesting that it came out today. So this is the most relevant. By the time you're listening to this, though, the teaser will almost be upon you guys. The 14th. We normally put this up on like Wednesdays, so that'd be the 12th. Otherwise, Pikmin 3 got announced by Nintendo, like I think almost a week ago. Like,
yeah, so you weren't too stoked about that.
I mean, it's not that I'm not stoked. I think Pikmin 3 is going to be great. It's more like I'm not stoked the way they announced it, because I have a feeling this means no Nintendo Direct. The game's coming out October 30th. So you would imagine they wouldn't put this out and then be like, oh, let's do a Direct and re-talk about Pikmin. So, yeah, man. And I really don't like the way they're doing these announcements. I did not like the way they announced Paper Mario. I don't like the way they announced Pikmin. I feel like it takes out all the fanfare. It definitely kills my buzz and hype for the game. Like, okay, just release a trailer for this thing. Great. Cool. Sure. Maybe I'll play it.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on any of this new Nintendo advertising methods?
I don't know, man. I would like to see another Direct. I don't even think Nintendo, I don't know if they really have a plan right now for what's happening. If this is the trailer we got for Pikmin and it's not attached to a Direct or a coming Direct, there's obviously nothing planned, and that's what worries me more than the lonely trailer.
Yeah, that is the problem too. I'm still hopeful that those Super Mario rumors, the Mario All-Stars 2 rumor, is real, and that we're going to get some 3D Marios at the end of this year, but who knows, man? October 30th is pretty late. So, does that mean they're going to have something in November or December? I mean, it's totally possible, but I just feel like we really need to adjust our expectations, because I don't really see them doing maybe anything besides that Super Mario All-Stars 2 rumor. If that does come out.
I don't know. I don't want to sound like a millennial here, but it feels like they have to have something still. Something.
Yeah, a lot of
up
people
their
have talked
sleeve.
about that.
Yeah.
I'm not certain of it anymore, man. I think, we all want that. We all hope that. Their last direct was, I want to say December or January. It was, a long time ago.
Yeah, they had the mini one last month, so. But yeah.
Oh, were you talking about that joke? The one that we talked about? The WWE Battlegrounds?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I can't even call that I tried to block that out of my mind. The only thing they showed me that was semi-interesting was the Shin Megami Tensei 5 stuff, and that's not even this year. That's 2021. Yeah. So if you guys hear sirens, that's on my end. So, yeah, man, Nintendo, oh, my goodness, this is getting real loud. Let me just hold up.
Did you just get swatted?
Yeah, we're that popular, and we're doing this live, so I'm getting swatted. Okay, I might even just cut that out. We'll see if I'm not lazy enough. So if you're listening to this, I was too lazy. I didn't cut that out. Okay, so besides the Nintendo stuff, what we do have going on is the PlayStation State of Play. It also happened, I want to say, the same day as that Nintendo Pikmin 3 reveal. Same day or day after or whatever. And most of this stuff is super boring. I mean, they kind of told us what to expect. No PlayStation 5 pricing or release date stuff. Nothing really super interesting. And they kept their word, man. I'll just lead off with the stuff I'm kind of semi-interested in is Braid. Did you ever play that?
Which one?
Braid. It was like an Xbox Live Arcade game. Came out to the 360, maybe 2009 or 2008. It's like a time-traveling side-scroller. It's really good. Yeah, so I guess that's coming to like PlayStation and Switch, and I don't know about Xbox, but a few other things. That's like next year. And it's crazy that they announced it that far in advance because it's not that big of a game. Hitman, all three of the games are going to be playable in VR. Do you own a PSVR?
Nope.
Neither do I. So I don't really care about this.
Yeah.
Cool for people. Did you play any of those Hitman games?
No. It's something I've wanted to play. I know a lot of this conference was focused heavily on the PSVR though.
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't even say that. I think they only had 2 VR announcements. I could be wrong, but that was one of the things they talked about.
Star
Vader.
Wars too, right?
I didn't even write that down. Vader Immortal. Yeah, I think that was on Oculus like a year ago or something at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's just the one they've talked about for forever, but my guess is it won't be great. They kicked off the show, though, with Crash 4. Did you get to see that or no?
Yeah, I did. I'm interested in playing it. I wonder if since it's being shown on PlayStation's conference, if we're going to get another like timed exclusive like before.
Oh, I think it will be day and date with Xbox. I don't think they're going to do any of that stuff. It's not coming to Switch right off the bat. The rumor is it's going to come. It looked good. I don't think it's going to be worth $60. I'll just be upfront and say I'm not paying $60 for that. So, I'll get it later. Yeah. They announced Spelunky 2's release date, which is actually, this was probably the more exciting. I'm not even a big Spelunky fan. I read the book by Derek Yu about creating the game, and it was really interesting. But, I was more just excited that, hey, a lot of people like that, and it's coming out in September. That's something that I thought was just going to get pushed out of this year. So great for Spelunky fans if you like that really serious platforming roguelike style game. Auto Chess is coming to PS4, I want to say.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Auto
man.
Chess.
Blowing my mind. Yeah, I will never play it, but it's a big game. Temtem. Do you know what that is?
1010?
Oh, no, Temtem. Temtem.
I do not.
It's like a Pokemon clone. I want to say it might be the MMO one.
Yeah, I read about that. They said that was like that was what Pokemon should have been on a big console. Yeah,
so that's coming to I think PS5, Xbox Series X, and Switch. Weirdly enough, I don't think it's coming to this current generation. And then they did like a Bug Snacks trailer, and I think I'm like one of the few people who's so jaded maybe that I have no interest in Bug Snacks. I've lived through too many kitschy games to think like that one's going to be the one that changed my mind.
Yeah, I forget what the game was. There's a PC game that came out several years ago that kind of had its own following. I forget what it is called, but it kind of reminds me of Bug Snacks, where it's like a world full of bugs, and you can like customize bugs and.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about at all. I thought you were going to be talking about their previous game, Octodad.
Oh no, I think it's called Spore or something like that.
Oh no, dude! Spore is a crazy huge game by EA that came out in like 2006, 2007, where you create like a character from and you evolve them into different. Yeah, it's nothing like this. Actually, Spore is like, I never got into it, but it's like a very well liked game now. It had a lot of DRM controversy when it came out because you had to always be connected to the internet to play it. So a lot of people were like crazy pissed. No, Spore's pretty good, man. Like, Bugsnax, it could be okay. I just am not the internet. I have not fallen in head over heels in love with this thing. So, we'll see. And honestly, that's kind of my news. Did you have anything else that seemed interesting to you?
No, not that I can think of. The Hood. What was the game called? The Hood, about Robin Hood.
The Robin Hood. Yeah.
That game. It looked cool up until I found out that you have to play it with people. So it feels like it's going to be Brink 2.0. The old Bethesda game. I was kind of into it, and then I was not into it anymore. So like they had me, and then I fizzled off. So.
You know what reminds me of that game that was announced in the Nintendo Mini Direct, Rogue something. I cannot even remember the name of it. The third-person shooter, where it's just like there's a lot of these games coming out. And the problem is there is a limited amount of people to play them. You know? There are a lot of people, but there's still like a lot of people like, oh, I know what Call of Duty is, or oh, I know what, PUBG is, so I'm going to play that game.
Well, and here's my thoughts on this, is outside of your Battle Royale games, if you don't have a way for people to play by themselves, then I don't think your game's going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions to this. A game that I wanted to play, but I don't actually have PS Plus right now. Fall Guys came out this last week, and that looked really, really fun, but I was too busy playing Ghost of Tsushima, and maybe I'll jump into it later. Did you guys see what that game is?
Fall Guys?
Yeah.
I did not.
Okay, it's essentially like the TV show Wipeout. Or like there's a Japanese game show that's similar to that people were talking about. And it's like that, and you do a bunch of like multiplayer things, but it's a semi-battleground style game. So every task that you do together, whether it's, push through the right doors to get to the end, only a certain amount of people will continue on from that till you get to the last 10 or whatever, and then somebody wins. It looks really neat, and they got a huge following because it was a free game with PS Plus. And it was like, there's not a lot coming out. But if they would have sold that game even for like $30, I don't think they would have got nearly as many people as they needed. Like I said, it looks really, really fun. I can't wait to play it when I have a chance. But yeah, you're really running the risk when you make a multiplayer. I mean, you're running the risk when you make a game, period. But when you make a multiplayer-only game, yeah, because the problem is if you don't get enough people and the server times are too long, you're going to lose the people that are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. The main reason, though, what we're doing with this drought of gaming news mainly, because we actually both played quite a few things. I played like so many games this last week, is we're doing our ranking of exclusives, our top 5 favorite exclusives for each platform. Last week we did our Xbox One exclusive series. Now we're doing our PlayStation exclusives, our 5 favorite games, and honorable mention to the games that came out exclusively to PlayStation or potentially PlayStation and PC. If you hear that whistling, that's my head about to explode because I'm so excited. It's not my wife cooking. No, but this is going to be cool. I'd like to start with our honorable mentions. Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
So my honorable mention is probably going to be something that's pretty high up on your list. So,
okay, real quick then, before we get into it, like always, we will talk about the same game. You don't have to tell the place, so you can get there and tell later. But when you talk about it, I will also talk about it. So I'm hoping it's not my number one, because that means we're going to spend most of our time. Then we're going to get to number one. It's going to be anticlimactic. Anyways, go ahead. What's your honorable mention?
All right. Well, it's probably going to be your number one. So let me. Why don't we just hold off on my honorable mention?
No. Do it. I don't think it's going to be my number one.
Ghost of Tsushima?
It's not my number one. It is on my list way higher, and I think you are crazy for putting an honorable mention.
Well, I just it's honorable mention to me because I haven't finished it.
Okay, but don't you not even play that many PlayStation games?
Well, the only PlayStation exclusives are all the ones that on my list that I've played. I haven't played any more beyond what I have written down here.
Okay, I actually had quite a few that I just didn't even put on the list because it's like, these are better. Go talk about Ghost of Tsushima. What do you like about it? Because I've already talked about that game tons of times.
So I like the open world elements. I like the it has a good soundtrack. I don't know. The exploration is very soothing. Hearing the wind blow and the music playing in the background, I don't know. It's very soothing. There's something about it, like it's very peaceful. Like even when you're fighting, just being there in that time setting feels very soothing to me. And I do have my gripes with the game, but what I've played, and I haven't finished the game. I am really enjoying, and I would love to go back to it at some point. It's my honorable mention because it's something I've enjoyed but haven't finished yet.
Yeah, it's higher up my list. I'll tell you later, when we get there where it was. But yeah, it's a great game. It is a very fun open world game. There are issues with it. That's why it's not my number one. It has a lot of pointless side quests. Side quests that are like, oh, this is like, the beginning of this generation side quest, where you're like, go here, do this thing, that don't really add, that I felt like could have been taken out. They have a little bit too much fluff. There's maybe too many question marks on the map. Yeah. But overall, I dig it. My honorable mention, and this is the only time I'm going to cheat this entire list, okay? But my honorable mention is 3 games. I will tell you them all real quick. Yeah, you'll understand why in 1 second. It's Bloodborne and Nioh and Nioh 2. So it's all of those Souls-like games. I think they are, in my mind, all fairly equal. There are things I like more to others. Nioh and Nioh 2 are a lot faster. Bloodborne's setting is better, and it's a little bit more precise. I think if you like Souls games, you need to play all 3 of these. The reason why they're all honorable mentions and not higher up my list is because I didn't beat any of them, because they're all incredibly difficult. And Nioh 2 are stupid long. So, yeah, I love them. That's all I had to say, is they're really, really good. I had to choose them from other games that I semi-enjoyed. Like, those games are good. Get Bloodborne first, then get Nioh 2.
That's got to be frustrating to, like, I remember this with Ninja Gaiden, like, starting a game and being really into it, and then not finishing it because I couldn't. I couldn't physically finish the game. I don't have the reflexes to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, and I think I could too, but it's just so much time. It's like, how many times do you want to fight the same guy and die over and over and over again before you're like, hey, I'm not making any progress. That happened to me in Sekiro and a bunch of other games. Yeah. What's your number 5, my man?
Number 5, I got The Order 1886.
Wow.
I don't know.
Tell me how this even made it on your list. I liked what the 15 or 20 minutes I played, or till you get to the werewolves. I thought it was very cool looking, and I'd love to go back at some point. But I don't think it's remarkable.
This is not based on games. I haven't played a lot of PlayStation exclusives. Like, I've only played probably 6 PlayStation exclusives, so you'll have to forgive me.
Okay.
But I don't know. I like the gothic setting of the game. It's the story was intriguing. Just the whole background of the game was intriguing. Yeah, it had its parts that were kind of corny, and it did leave itself open for a sequel. I doubt we'll ever get to see it.
No, but, that company was bought by Facebook Gaming.
Facebook, Facebook bought them. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's something I don't know if I would ever go back and play it again, but it's kind of like when you watch Underworld with Kate Beckinsale, right? You're like, okay, well, that was kind of cool. I probably won't ever watch it again.
And then they made 4 more of those, or however many there are.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. I dug it. I mean, I like it. It's not on my list. Like, I didn't get that far. I've heard it's only 3 or 4 hours, which was the only reason.
Game. Super short game.
That's the only reason I wanted to finish it. And then I got to a werewolf fight, and I don't know if I was playing on hard or what, but it was way harder than I expected. And I was like, this is BS. And I died 5 or 6 times. It was like, I shut it off and never went back. It's cool. It's whatever. My number 5, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is on your list if you've only played 6 games, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Okay. I like it. I think it's really, really good. I would even go so far as to say I may love it. I think it's one of the better games I have played on PlayStation, but there are one thing that Sony has that I definitely think Microsoft struggled with this generation is they had a lot of really good exclusives. I mean, I looked over that list and I had to cut out, like just looking at it right now, like I put 3 games on my honorable mentions and I had 4 other games that I really, really enjoyed as well. They did a really good job locking up stuff. Whereas like my Xbox One, I did cheat quite a bit and there were a few things that I had to like, put around, like I could have put Gears 4 or whatever, which I didn't. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake, if this was a different year or a different console, that might even be like top 3 contenders. But I mean, we're this year alone was like really, really good. And I there's issues with the story. There's a lot of issues with the game and the gameplay, but overall, I generally enjoyed it. It was so much fun to see a game I played as a child come back in a totally new and unique form.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it felt like a completely different game from what I remember playing as a kid, and it was, it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't, the changes weren't things that made me angry, it felt like a retelling of a classic childhood story, and, there weren't any parts in it that were incredibly frustrating. There's a lot of, there's some repetitiveness to the game, but other than that, like my only complaint about it would be, we talked about this before with the whole the light settings in the game, right? You can't play. Yeah. There's some parts you cannot play during the day, so
just
that
too
would
dark.
be my But other than that, like I enjoyed it. Like I think I did every side quest the game had to offer. Like I was
it was very limited. But I did them all too.
I was very immersed in this world, and that's something that I can't say happens for a lot of games that I play.
Yeah, and I think, to add to the good, the combat system I thought was so much fun when you get into it. That idea of like, oh, I got to do this, or I got to switch this character. The ability to switch and swap was fun. Yeah. Leveling up was fairly simple and pretty fun to do. But yeah, there's some BS. Like some of the end of the story stuff, without getting into it, was not my favorite. And there was some fluff that definitely didn't need to be added. And there was some stuff that could have been trimmed to make the game maybe, I would go so far as to say, even 5 to 10 hours shorter. Because there was some parts in there where you're like, especially I'm looking at that train section where I was just like, please let this end. Please let this end.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, the cutscenes, the story, it was fun. It was really cool. What is your number 4?
So number 4, I got Spider-Man. It reminded me a lot, just like the openness of the city reminded me a lot of Web of Shadows, which is a game I really loved on Xbox 360.
I remember that game.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Like I love it. Kind of reminded me of a mixture of like Prototype and Web of Shadows. Like I love being able to just swing freely around a city, doing side quests where I want to do them. It felt very close to the comic books, and also kind of reminded me of the '90s cartoon Spider-Man. So I don't know. It really appealed to my sense of nostalgia, but it also appealed to my enjoyment of open world exploration. And, I am excited about the Miles Morales game coming out, but, this was a really, really well put together game.
Yeah, it was really fun. It didn't make my list. Kind of like Sunset Overdrive. These are both games I had a ton of fun with, but there were better things that came out. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man is blessed. It was probably my favorite Spider-Man story, maybe ever. Like I fell off after Tobey Maguire was no longer Spider-Man. I haven't followed the movies. I don't really care about the animated shows. Like all that stuff is always kind of like, Spider-Man's never been my favorite character, but I thought the story in it was so much fun, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? I was actually pretty invested. I loved a lot of the mini games were super fun. Leveling up was great. The bummer is once you level up everything and you beat the game, like I was playing the DLC, there's not a ton that's new to it. It's just kind of that again.
Yeah. Well, it has its repetitive elements to it.
Yeah, it definitely, it's hard for me to choose it. Like I almost wanted to put it there because it's definitely one of my favorite open world games on the PlayStation 4. But it's hard to choose it when Ghost I enjoyed so much more, and it was the same thing. And this one I enjoyed a little bit more. God of War came out the exact same year as Spider-Man. This is my number 4 pick. Could have been higher because there's a lot of cool things, but I think the combat and the pace of the game kind of lowered it on my list. I think it has issues. So I do I love it, but it has some
It's
problems. Go
funny
ahead.
you say that because my fiance was playing God of War, and
Yeah.
she said that it was slow also.
It's very
And,
slow. I totally agree with her.
It is actually, it has some pacing problems, but like story wise, if I were judging a game specifically from a story perspective, like I would rank God of War as like probably in my top 10 games of all time.
Yeah, and I see that totally. I bet that's based off of like 4 or 5 moments in God of War. Because there are 4 or 5 moments in God of War that are incredible. But the problem is, while there's a lot of cool immersive storytelling, whether you're in the boat and I forgot the guy's name, but he tells you stories, or whether you're Mimir, or whether you're walking around, there's a lot of really cool things. There is just a ton of like, when you think back about that game, you think about the top of the mountain. You think about him going back home. You think about scenes like that. There's a lot of that game that you probably don't remember, like going to the light and dark elf worlds that were really boring and not a lot happens, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't hate it. I think it's cool. I also don't love most Sony games do this, and Ghost of Tsushima also does this, but I don't love the charms, the charms equipment thing.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that being,
It's too much to keep track of.
yeah.
And like you waste
that's-
resources on them.
Yeah, so that was a big beef with mine in the gameplay. I know it's annoying probably for people like, whoa, blah, 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 blah. But that's something I didn't like. So, that's why it's my number 4. I'm sure that's on your list. My guess is it's much higher because we talked about this in Super BS back in the day. What is your number 3?
So my number 3 is actually the last game we haven't talked about.
Really?
Yeah, my number 1 was God of War. Number 2 is Final
Yeah.
Fantasy. Number 3 is Uncharted 4.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that I didn't even write that down to be in contention. I played some of it. A lot of issues. Go ahead. Tell me what you like about it.
It had, I don't know, it felt more emotional than the other games did. It felt,
Yeah.
You got his backstory, and it kind of rounded out that series in a way that most games probably won't do or won't be able to. Like I'm looking at Halo, right? Halo Infinite's supposed to be like the end of the Master Chief Cortana story, and I don't think that game series is going to end as well as the Uncharted franchise did. And I feel like the writing in Uncharted 4 was top notch.
I agree with you about like most of that stuff. For me, the writing and the story have never been the Uncharted problem. The problem is the gameplay. I don't like the way the shooting feels. I don't like how many bullets it takes to take down an enemy. I just think it's not fun to play. If there was 10 minutes of gameplay for every 30 minutes of story, I think I would enjoy that more. If there was like one puzzle to solve and then I got to see the story more, I think I'd enjoy that more than what it was where it'd be like, okay, I got to do this. Hopefully this is only like 20 or 30 minutes, and then I can actually, play, watch more of the story. But yeah, I agree. I think like there's a lot of stuff. Just even the plain PlayStation Crash Bandicoot on the couch with Elena at the beginning was a cool moment and really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I only got halfway through the game. I went back after Last of Us Part 2. I struggle to play that game.
You got to play it and it's not a game you can walk away from and come back
It's also
to.
crazy long, though. It's like way too long. I played for like 11 or 12 hours, and I'm only halfway through it. It's way
there's
too
a
much
part
fluff.
where you're in a boat and like you have
I'm
all
there.
that area to explore. Like that part takes forever.
Yep, I did that. I did the Jeep. It's just there's still way too much. My number 3 is Ghost of Tsushima, which we already talked about. I love that game. Everybody should play it. It is a blast. And I'm going to wrap up these last few fairly quickly because I got to head out fairly soon. But what is your number 2?
Final Fantasy VII, which we hit.
Yeah, man, I like that game. That's a great number 2. In a different year, that would have been my number 2 or number 1. My number 2, and you may have guessed this already, is
Ghost of Tsushima.
No, that was my number 3. It's Ni no Kuni 2. You should have remembered from when I said I liked it that year.
Yeah.
No, that Ni no Kuni 2 is a blast. It's so many fun sim management elements, and even though the story's cheesy at times, it's nowhere near as bad as Kingdom Hearts 3. And just going to the different worlds and helping the people out and game to join you to manage your city, and then you have these little like strategy missions. Excellent game, super fun, incredible. It's $20. Everybody should pick that up, whether it's on PC or PS4. That game is a blast. If it was on Switch, I would replay it again, but it is not. And
Isn't the first one's on Switch, right?
The first one is now on Switch. The first one was
Yeah.
originally only PS3. Came out on Switch like last year, September, I think. Your number one is God of War, right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add to that?
I picked up the God of War, the prequel comic to this God of War. Like, that's how interested in the story I am. So, like, I think I'm excited for where the series is going moving forward.
You should read Neil Gaiman's book. I want to say it's called Norse Mythology.
Okay.
It is, I feel like they read that book and they're like, hey, let's make God of War. It's really, really good and covers a lot of similar things to the game. Obviously, it's about Norse mythology. My number one is The Last of Us Part 2. While I don't think it's nearly as fun and like the capital F as Ghost of Tsushima, it's just a really powerful game. It is a lot of fun, too. I don't want to diminish it. I had a blast playing it. But even more than playing it, it's the first game maybe ever where I could not wait to see the story. Like, yeah, God of War had a great story, but like because there was so much between each moment, it was like, okay, I'll get there when I get there. They'll give me some, stuff and I'll keep going and get to the next stuff. Last of Us Part 2, because of just how scripted everything is, you're almost always in a story moment. And yeah, there's like a moment or two, like an hour here or there where things aren't like mile a minute, speed and everything's happening. And there's just so much to go off of and to talk about and think about. But overall, they nail the gameplay, the story, the characters. Like I said, and I'm not a huge fan of games that push any type of political message or anything, and they definitely have that in here. But the overall message of kind of the end result of revenge and the end result of unforgiveness is so powerful. I think it supersedes all of my possible complaints I could have about it. It's not a game I will ever play again. It's a very dark, very hard game to play. But everybody should.
So the story, it gets where it needs to go, and it's an ending that you will never forget.
Oh, wow, man. Yeah, I would say there are a couple slow moments, and by slow, I mean maybe 20 or 30 minutes where you're like, oh, nothing's really happened yet. And maybe it's longer than that, but by my memory, it's not very long. It's not like the normal Sony exclusives like Uncharted. You get story every hour or two, but the story's not always that important. Every time you would get the story in the game, it felt like it was important. And it was not hours apart. It was like, 30 minutes and you get something. And you felt like you were getting knowledge of these characters that you're like, what are they going to do with it? I don't know what they're going to do. They got me here and they got me here. And yeah, I know a lot of people hate it. I know there's a lot of issues that a lot of people have with the game, but man, I think it is incredible. It is a feat of gaming, a feat of storytelling. And there are games that are way more fun. Ghost of Tsushima, Kuni, a lot of other stuff. But as far as the PlayStation exclusive standard, that idea where you are talking about third-person action storytelling games, which is what they excel at, is getting studios that make that stuff. This is the best. This is the pinnacle. This is what they did right. Yeah, man, I'm really excited for next week to talk about some Switch stuff because that has some, for being a console 3 years old, that has some great games on it.
Yep, I'm excited.
But yeah, my bro stuff, anything else you want to add before we hit the road here?
I think that's it, man. Let me know if you want to do some Grounded later this week, and maybe we can chat some more.
Community Grounded, hashtag get the players in, hashtag let them play, hashtag get it going, hashtag Super BS. Getting our hashtags ready, bro. We're about to set the world on fire. All right, man. Well, it was good chatting with you. I'll chat with you next week. Peace.
Late.
Oh, yeah.